Welcome to the first video in the C3 broadcast, publicly the first long-form video. I am your trippy trip C, psychedelic psychopomp, Symmetry. And here in the C3B, we know about the past lives of Trismegistus. And this is the indigenous perspective that makes shows like Avatar meaningful. So when we look at the universe and see all these Christians who believe that they only live once, loving the concept of Avatar, loving the concept of Aang and Korra being the same God, the same spirit, this is a contradiction that is only possible because the Indians are right and the Jesuits are wrong. So as Symmetry, all right, as your trippy tripsy psychedelic psychopomp, I know a lot about history because I'm tapped into my past lives, and this is where I really appreciate Kendrick as an artist. And I think that this beef, this colossal beef that's bigger than the SuperBowl, as big as the what? As big as the what? I'm pretty sure this beef is bigger than the SuperBowl. We're gonna get into all that. This video series is about Kendrick versus Drake. This is about why the internet basically agrees that Kendrick has won and people are gonna be crip walking to not like us on top of Drake's grave for the rest of this summer. Okay, so I'm about to be introducing a perspective that no one on the internet has, but subconsciously I'm putting words to the war, the spiritual war that is being done to black people. So it's not a coincidence that they had Kendrick Lamar, the man who named his child after Enoch, make the first Black Panther album. Black Panther as a character is taken from the past lives of Trismegistus. This is just the truth. So Black Panther actually represents Tahuti in Marvel's eyes. So Spider-Man represents Hermes, Black Panther represents Tahuti, Thoth. All right, so the god Thoth, he's known as Hermes as well. He's also known as Odin. He's also known as Brahma. He's also known as Ahura Mazda. So there's a lot of past lives for this one god named Thoth. And those are not your past lives. You have all of your own past lives. Now the Jesuits, they teach us that they're like us because they say that all of our past lives are their past lives. And this is why Kendrick has basically beaten Drake with a song Not Like Us. Because he, as an indigenous individual, he started the beef mainly with the point that there's no big three, there's just big me. And then he ends it by saying, you're not like me. You do things I would never do. So this is essentially why Drake has lost. And everyone basically agrees that Drake has lost. If you don't agree that Drake has lost the beef, you're not listening to the logic. You're lost in some emotion about wanting to support his career instead of recognizing the truth that he's an actor who's been paid to lie this entire time. Okay, so the big spiritual war that I'm about to be pointing out with my Black Panther energy is that America and Africa were indigenous lands. Wakanda is not a fictional place in Africa. Wakanda is actually the very real name for the fact that Africans built pyramids in America. Thoth is the god who's also known as Kukulkan. So the Ku Klux Klan, as the Jesuits, they want to be like us so much that they named themselves after Kukulkan just so that they could take credit for everything Hermes and Thoth have ever done. And that's what Drake represents. Okay, so this is why a lot of the statements that Kendrick is making against Drake, as we see in the whole fight, is him pointing out that Drake is a colonizer. Drake is not a colleague. He's a colonizer because he's coming from the Jesuit order. That's what OVO represents, the Jesuits, and how they do business controlling children trafficking children, slavery. Okay, this is all about colonialism. And Kendrick, with his Black Panther, Enoch, Metatron, Thoth Hermes energy, he's using the morals of the past lives that he's learned about to express his own indigenous individuality. So, thank you, Kendrick. Way to go. This is why he says that he made Mr. Morale. And when we look at the lyrics of Mr. Morale, he's straight up telling his child that he named after the God that he learned about, that he's lived more than once. He literally, the first bars of Mr. Morale are, Enoch, your father has detoxed, my calling is right on time. All right, so my name is Chase Callaway. All right, and this is about how my space chases calls away from my spirit so that I can support gods who are jealous of me. So the God that Drake serves, his name is literally Jealous Jehovah. Okay, that's the God of the Jesuits, and this is the God that taught Jesuits that they can do whatever they want to do to Indians and then lie about it. And that's what Hollywood has been built on. The Jesuits doing unspeakably horrible things to Indians and then lying about it so that they can put on blackface and make money. And is it a coincidence that Drake wore blackface? Is that a coincidence? See, so I'm sharing the truth. And that's why you can't fight fire with fire and expect to win. Because in my reality, with my words, all right, with my wisdom, fire is a lie, water is the truth. If firefighters fought fire with fire, then the entire building would burn down, right? So Kendrick, what he's doing, he's not fighting Drake with fire, because that would look like Kendrick making up lies that aren't true in reality. This is why Euphoria went so hard as a diss track, and it's going hard every day as a diss track, because Kendrick didn't have to make anything up. He just brought together what the culture was already saying. When Kendrick was saying the line, I hate the way you walk, I hate the way you talk, I hate the way you dress. Later, when he contradicts himself by saying, oh, I don't really have a hating bone in my body, he's telling the truth in his Gemini way, because he's actually representing the culture in Euphoria. He's actually just collecting what I think it was DMX said. Okay, so these videos for the C3 broadcast are me introducing the fact that the spiritual war has been between the Indian gods and the Jesuit God. All right? And the Jesuit God is monotheistic. The Indian gods are polytheistic. The Jesuit God teaches you that you only live once. The Indian gods teach you that you live more than once. The moment Kendrick names his child after Enoch and tells his child that he's lived 1,000 lives, he has allied himself with the Indian gods. So the fact that the overall consensus of the metaverse that Masons have stolen from Metatron is that Kendrick won this beef represents how the Indian intellect is superior to the Jewish intellect. And the Jewish intellect is constantly colonizing the Indian intellect so that they can sell racism as a real religion. And then that's where they use the past lives of all these different individuals to teach us that we're all expressions of one thing. And that's how they've colonized Indian culture, by teaching Indians that no matter what God you're dealing with, we're all expressions of one God, and good and bad don't exist, it's just consciousness. That's the Jesuit intellect. That's literally the Jesuit, Jewish, Jehovah, Jesus way of thinking, that we're all the same. And do you understand, if you believe that every God is the same, you're racist. You're way more racist than you're smart enough to know how to talk about. And most people hate being identified as racist because racism is dumb. Being racist is dumb, and it's connected to lies. So people see lies as dumb, people see the truth as smart, and people see racists as liars, because the truth is, we're not all the same. That's why we don't all think the same. We don't all dress the same. We don't all act the same. When Kendrick is pointing out that the culture has already said, we hate the way Drake dresses, we hate the way he walks, we hate the way he talks, we hate it when he says the N-word. When Kendrick is saying that that's the culture, and that's how the culture already thinks, that's because they're not like us. No matter how much they teach us that we're all one God, they have enslaved us in our own land because they worship a God who is jealous of Enoch. Kendrick knows that the God Drake serves is jealous of Metatron. And that's why they're using the energy of Kendrick. This whole beef literally started because of that song that Drake and J. Cole made. Drake and J. Cole made the song, as big as a what? As big as a Super Bowl. Oh, and then literally J. Cole has the line. Okay, this is deep. All right, for symmetry. J. Cole has the line, the Spider-Man meme is me looking at Drake. Right? So they're literally trying to say that the big three are all Spider-Men and that they're holding the rap game together with the connections that they're weaving. You see that? And this is where they're trying to identify Kendrick as the third Spider-Man who was not included in that song. But the point is, as Kendrick stated, we're not all Spider-Man. I'm Spider-Man because I see that I have a bunch of past lives and I've named my child after Enoch. That's what Kendrick is literally saying. By challenging, there's no big three. You think you're the Trippy Trip C, Tremor T, Trismegistus. You're not. I am, because I'm allianced with me, with the me Tatron. I'm allianced with me Curie. Okay, so Kendrick is very aware that Metatron created his own Mercury, and that's why he has all of his own past lives, and that's why he's the god that predates the jealousy of Jehovah. So he calls out Drake for being a colonizer who's working on behalf of Jehovah's jealousy. And then that's why he calls Drake out for not even writing his own raps. You know, like, how much can we respect an artist who everyone on the internet's making jokes about? He's not even speaking from the heart or his own brain. He has to talk to other people and get his bars from them. That's like Spider-Man waiting for someone else to cast his webs. That's like Drake says, oh, I'm Spider-Man. Okay, hey, cast a web for me. Spray him with a bar, spray him with webs, make these webs for me. Like, that's Drake as Spider-Man. So when Kendrick comes out saying, you're not Spider-Man, I am, he's just dropping all these songs that he created from his own connections, his own webs. Here's a little astrological wisdom. All right, you get infinite wisdom when you tap into my school, when you tap into my broadcast. Astrologically, the arms are Gemini, right? You might not know this, but now you do. If you're just now hearing it, if you already know it, then right? Correct. The arms represent Gemini astrologically, and that's because the arms are connected to the lungs. And in Metatron's mathematics, we know that Gemini is the number 8. So the number 8 is Spider-Man's number. You feel me? It's because Spider-Man lives infinite lifetimes. Spider-Man makes endless costumes. So when you think of every costume as a body, and you can understand that you can wear more than one costume, you can see why your spirit wears more than one body. That's the Spider-Man awareness of what Avatar means. That's why Avatar as a show is so big, because they're actually using the energy of Spider-Man, of Tremor T, Trismegistus, to hold their matrix together, as they teach everyone to worship Christianity and contradict Avatar, because that's just fictional. So that's their Jewish witchcraft, to say that the concept of living more than once is a fictional imagination that they have control over. But in real life, we only live once. And that's why when they kill Black Panther, when they kill Chadwick Boseman, they're practicing witchcraft on the Black community to make sure that we continue holding their system together by staying oppressed by the Jesuits who colonized the indigenous lands of Wakantaka, of Wakanda. And it's obvious that the Jesuits are intentionally using fake food to give everyone cancer because they want us to think that that's the most relatable way for Black Panther to relate and exist, to be a victim of sickness and disease. And this is really them teaching us that Indians died of smallpox because the Ku Klux Klan has always been killing Black people and then claiming that Black people died of disease. And that's how they created all of America. by killing Indians and then teaching white people that the Indians just died of cancer, of smallpox, of dysentery, of other pirate diseases that they brought over from the ocean. Okay, so this is their witchcraft. This is how they colonized America. And Kendrick is an artist who speaks out against that in his own ways because he is a student of Enoch. He understands that Enoch transformed into Metatron because Enoch was always Metatron. And Enoch is in control of his future because he's tapped into his past lives. And the Jesuits, everyone who has stolen our land and our resources from us and identified us as black people so that they can blacklist us from receiving the same rights as whites. Okay, it's very intentional word witchcraft that they have us wrapped up in. That's allowed everything to work for the past 2,000 plus years. Everything that they've done to make this possible is at our full expense. And this is what Drake represents. Kendrick is calling Drake out for doing what the slave masters have been paid to do, which is traffic children and breed them for their own personal disgusting dark desires. You know, the sex word, sexual. Let me say that. Let me replace E with an I for their sexual desires. They have this relationship with six, which is the wood. Okay, and that's why, you know, they call the genitals the wood, and the genitals get excited at touching flesh, at touching the fiber of someone else. So that's what the energy of sex, of six, represents. It represents wood and flesh both being a result of blood moving. And that's why when you get a woody as a man, or if, you know, in general, when you're dealing with a human who got hard, their wood, that's their flesh being engorged with blood. So that it goes from soft to hard, right? And that's because they're getting excited about touching something in their environment. Okay, so Kendrick is pointing out that Drake has a very unhealthy relationship with his wood, because he likes to touch people that he should mathematically not be touching. And there's no debate about that. Like, this is where Kendrick literally has Metatron on his side. Mathematically, the people that Drake is attracted to are too young to be touched by someone of his age. They're supposed to be dealing with kids their age, with people their age, mathematically. People who are under 18 are supposed to be touched and involved with people who are also under 18. So that is the mathematical logic that Kendrick is bringing in this rap beef, which is why this isn't even a rap beef. This is an expose. I was going to say something earlier. Right, Gemini being the number 8 in Metatron's mathematics. The number 8 represents infinity because Spider-Man makes infinite costumes. And that represents the fact that the Avatar lives infinite lifetimes. Literally, okay? That's just the truth that I'm giving you. And I don't fight lies with lies. I fight lies with truth. That's why I think everyone is also agreeing that Kendrick won, because Kendrick is just using the truth to fight Drake's lies. And Drake is going to keep lying so that he can burn through the truth, because that's how the Jesuits stole the land of Africa and America. They use their lies to burn through the truth, and they evaporate the water so that we just see the air, which is all the violence that they use to colonize children. And it's many meta levels of violence that the Jesuits use to colonize children. And that's what Kendrick is also going to war against in this battle against Drake. He's not even fighting Drake, okay? He's fighting all the people that write for Drake, which is what he says when he says it's not a 20v1, it's a 1v20 if I gotta slap niggas that write with you. And then I think he says, hell, bring him out too, I'll clean him out too. Tell Neem that he better stay right with you, which I assume Neem is one of Drake's ghostwriters. I'm not super into the hip-hop world, so again, I mean, this is a different kind of video, right? You're here checking out what I have to say about this beef, and you can go check out what a lot of people have to say. But do you understand what they're going to be giving is not a spiritual perspective on why Kendrick is using the energy of Metatron to mathematically tell the truth about why the Jesuits who made Drake famous have always been wrong in how they've conducted business with us. Kendrick is going to war against the entire industry that has made Drake profitable, because this industry is obsessed with trafficking children that they should be leaving alone. But that's what all of slavery is. Black people have been victims of sexual slavery ever since Christopher Columbus said that he discovered our land. And that's just the truth that most white people are too uncomfortable to talk about. And that's why Marvel killed Black Panther, because if they kept him around, they would have to acknowledge what he represents. He's a character who literally the white people who owned Hollywood and made Drake famous, they only made Black Panther because they needed to add diversity to their white supremacist gallery of superheroes. So their idea of adding diversity to their gallery of superheroes in Hollywood is to kill off the one diverse character that they made up before he even gets his second movie. And that represents how they've stolen everything from Indians. They kill us and then lie about how they killed us so that people can just go along with the program and think that this is God's plan. All right? That's what Drake represents. But as Kendrick said, it was God's plan for him to show you the liar. Okay, so this video series, all right, if you stick with me, this video series is going to be me using the intellect of this spiritual warfare between multiple gods to dissect the lyrics that Kendrick and Drake have used to fight each other. And we're going to see why the metaverse that Masons have stolen from Metatron overall agrees that Kendrick has won this beef. So before we get into all that, I have a list. Okay, so this list is me creating a sort of word algorithm. You might not be able to see it, so I'm gonna have to edit it, put it in the video. This list is me coming up with a word algorithm so that we can see the energy that Kendrick has allianced himself with and the energy that is not like the gods he has allianced himself with. And that's going to be Aubrey Graham, Drake. Okay, so Drake is going to represent the opposite of everything that Kendrick is working to represent. And this is going to show us a lot of details about the spiritual war that has made the genocide of Indians and Black people and the constant slavery of Indians and Black people profitable for the white supremacist Jesuits that have everyone working for money every day. Money that they stole from Metatron because they stole all their math from Metatron. So right here, I've written down first that Kendrick has allianced himself with Enoch turning into Metatron, and Enoch being one of the past lives of the god that is known as Metatron, the manifester of the metaverse. Okay, so the opposite of that then is Aubrey alliancing himself with Jesus. We know that Drake has a song where he says, "I need some Jesus in my life, amen." Yet he's Jewish and he represents Jewish culture, but he doesn't rap about Jewish culture. We see that in his music. The Jewish Jesuits are way more obsessed with being seen as Black than being seen as themselves. Oh, there are bugs out here. A huge ass bug just flew up. So they're obsessed with being seen as the people that they are colonizing. And that's actually what the movie Avatar is about. Okay, I wish I was lying to you. I wish I was, but again, I'm not fighting fire with fire. I've been water fasting because I fight fire with water. Okay, now water is a result of fire. So I do use fire in my fight with fire, but not nearly as much as I use water, because really the truth matters more than a lie. And that's where everyone has the power to lie. That's what Spider-Man shows you. Spider-Man's ultimate power is really him being able to lie to everyone and convince everyone that he's not actually Spider-Man. Isn't that his superpower? Him being able to act like he's not Spider-Man? See, so that's how the Jesuits stole this land from the real Americans, from the real African Americans who were in Wakanda first. Okay? So Aubrey represents Jesus being the manifestation of Jehovah's jealousy for Enoch. And that's why the people who taught me how to worship Jesus never taught me about Enoch my whole life. I just turned 27 yesterday. Happy birthday to me. So I just turned 27 yesterday. And over my entire life, the Christians who have taught me to worship the death of Jesus have never once uttered the name Enoch. It took me fasting for years on years, fasting a lot, fasting hundreds and hundreds of days for me to learn about my own past lives and how my past lives are connected to the fact that Enoch, Metatron, Hermes, Thoth, Quetzalcoatl, Agma, Cadmus, Kanji, Sequoia, everyone you can see on the John Adams Library, and Anansi, and more, are actually all past lives of one God that are not you. And this God created this universe to support gods who want to be worshipped by others. But that's where no one wants to support the person that's supporting them, and that's how people treat me. Where no one wants to support me because everyone's busy using me to support themselves. And that's the space that the Indian gods are in. And that's where Kendrick, a lot of his criticisms on Drake are that Drake has the same agenda as Jesus, as Jehovah, where Jesus is using everything that Jehovah stole from Buddhist principles to claim that he's the only good child, and he got killed by the government so that now they can kill every Indian in way worse ways and be justified inside of Judaism. So this is why black people deserve reparations, obviously. Because all the money that the Jesuits have made has been at the expense of the Indians that they've been trafficking. And Kendrick is simply calling Drake out for propagating the energy that has made the Jesuits the richest people in the world. They've made all their money off of enslaving people that they're trapping in poverty. And they're using the entertainment of Chadwick Boseman's death to make us scared of dying of cancer, while cutting me down for teaching you that fasting cures cancer, for teaching everyone in Metatron's metaverse that fasting cures cancer. They've been blacklisting me and cutting me down and telling me that I'm dangerous to children because I'm sharing this truth. And these are the people who are teaching children that they should get shot with Ozempic instead of fast. But they should also worship Jesus for fasting to talk to God, but he got killed and he's the only one who can fast and talk to God. See, so it's so beyond evil, and that whole system is what Drake represents. That's why he has more money than Kendrick. But I've also written here that, of course, Kendrick is using the wisdom of Enoch and Metatron to align himself with morals. So that's why his album is Mr. Morale. And on this album, we see the song Mr. Morale. He's talking to his child that he named after Hermes, being Enoch, that he knows he's lived 1,000 times or more. So Kendrick considers himself a demigod because that is the Avatar awareness. That's why everyone loves the show Avatar, because Kendrick is aware that Enoch and Hermes are both Metatron. Okay, so this is where Kendrick is allianced with the Indians, Aubrey is allianced with the Jesuits, and thus Kendrick, he knows that he's alone in having all of his own past lives. And that's where Kendrick knows that he's happy alone. Aubrey represents everyone being one thing. So that's why the Jesuits, who teach us to worship Jesus, they have worked as hard as they can to teach us this racist idea that every god is actually the one God that they serve and we're all one. That's the racism that Drake represents, which is why Kendrick doesn't want Drake to say the N-word anymore. Because Drake represents racism, the racism of saying we're all the same. We can all say the N-word. History doesn't matter. Oppression doesn't matter. Reparations, you don't deserve them because we're all one. We can say the N-word, even though we've been using it to steal your land and oppress you and do horrible things and put you underneath the level of dogs, underneath the level of animals overall. That's the history of the N-word. And that's their idea of all of us being the same thing, where they're using their desire to call black people the N-word to say that we're all subhuman because we can all say the N-word. But really, black people are the ones seen as subhuman because this is their matrix. And this is how the Jesuits traffic children and make money off of trafficking children, but never having to take responsibility for it because those children are black. Which is why Kendrick is also having to point out that Drake hypersexualizes black women for the same reason he hypersexualizes black children, because of white supremacy. And that's the whole Judaism system. That's what Christianity was created to serve. The desire to blacklist Indians from receiving the same rights as the whites supremacists. So this is where Kendrick, he being happy alone, has higher morals. Whereas Drake, because he says that we're all one in his Jesuit mindset and that we're all the same thing, he values money over morals because he's willing to do whatever it takes to connect with someone else, but also be seen as better than someone else. So this whole feud started because the industry was trying to use Kendrick's Black Panther energy to sell Drake and J. Cole as if they're all Spider-Man. As if all three of them are different Spider-Men holding the rap game together and they're all good with bars. When in reality, Drake, again, as we already know, he's not even casting his own webs. What kind of Spider-Man isn't casting his own webs? You can't swing from a building if you need to wait for your ghost webbers to web things up for you. Other people can't swing through the air for you. So Drake lost, and everyone can see that Drake lost logically because he's not casting his own webs. He's not even making his own costumes. He's not casting his own webs. He's not producing his own image or his own light. He is an actor that is the face for a bunch of other Jesuits that are using him to traffic children. And that's who Kendrick's fighting. That's what Kendrick is writing about when we see everything, okay? So this is a video series where I'm going to be going into all their songs, but I just want to lay this down first because this is the truth that Kendrick is using to fight Drake's lies. All right, so I am on the side of Metatron. I'm on the side of Enoch. I'm on the side of the Avatar. I'm on the side of Spider-Man. I'm on the side of Spider-Man and Black Panther at the same time. I'm on the side of what these concepts actually mean. Literally, I was going to say that the show Avatar is connected to the movie Avatar by the fact that Jehovah is jealous of Metatron. Do understand that the show Avatar is about the Indians who live more than once. The movie Avatar is about how the Jesuits are cloning the Indians because they want to replace them. So that entire Avatar movie is literally about Avatar 1 and 2, Way of Water. They're both about how the white supremacist Jesuits are cloning the Indians that they are abusing so that they can take their place inside of the environment that they are colonizing. That's what Avatar means to them. Literally, my awareness as your trippy tripsy psychedelic psychopath, that the body is a costume. And your soul has built this body. Any body, whatever body you're listening to me in, is a costume. One of your many costumes that your soul has built. And when you use ayahuasca to remember your past lives, you get a much higher awareness about why your ego is not confined to one body. And that's why Drake needs to do ayahuasca. That's why Kendrick told Drake to do ayahuasca. Okay? Like, Kendrick literally, he's trying to help Drake. Like, that's also why Kendrick wins. He's literally giving a Spider-Man suggestion to Drake. He's literally, that's what Spider-Man does. He's always trying to help the people who want to hurt him. That's me. As a god, I'm always trying to help the gods that want to kill me, because I have the moral high ground. As a spirit, in my hermetic mountain, in my hermetic pact with myself, I always have the moral high ground. So I'm always trying to pull people up who are working to tear me down, pull me down. So I understand Kendrick. That's what Kendrick is doing when he's telling Drake, hey, I recommend doing ayahuasca. Genuinely. Strip the ego from the bottom. Truthfully. And that's where we can see that Kendrick is literally allianced with the Indian gods, because the Jesuit god made ayahuasca illegal when he invaded our land. That's how you know there's more than one god. If the Jesuit god was the one true god, he would have never made his own plants illegal. The Jesuits would have never worked through white supremacists to make weed illegal. Okay, so I created symmetry to show you that everyone's a walking tree. And my concept of symmetry is me being able to grow weed out of my own head and then smoke my own hair. Okay, and get high off my own supply. Okay, so that's my, cartoon comic book version of myself as symmetry. I have a weed mohawk and I smoke my own weed out in the middle of space, and I can travel between universes by flying in my own Merkaba and conducting my trippy tripsy chi through my own caduceus, which is my spine. Okay, so if you want to learn about all that logically, then that's the point of my website, chaseyourgenes.com. You can hop into my courses at Always Ascending Academy. You can learn about why your chakras are pools of energy that are connected by the caduceus that you are borrowing, that you are building upon from the consciousness of Metatron. When Metatron created this universe, he donated his caduceus to you so that you can conduct your chi through the chakras that allow you to experience your nervous system. So this whole life, you are experiencing your nervous system, but your nervous system is using this universe to connect with the nerves of spirits that don't feel the same way as you. You understand what I'm saying, right? So that's why everyone has their own past lives. You don't feel the same way about my past lives that I do. That's why every person I've met who tells me that we all have the same past lives because we're all one, and that Martin Luther King was killed by a different version of himself, and that every Indian who's been sacrificed was just killed by different versions of themselves, those people hate talking to me because I prove that they're wrong. So those people would rather ignore me so that they can keep lying by saying they are me. But that's the Jesuit mindset, and that's what Drake represents as a white person. He doesn't look white, but he thinks white, and that's why Kendrick is saying, I don't like it when you say the N-word, because it sounds like a white person mentally saying it. You're coming from the perspective of a colonizer when you say the N-word. I want to throw all of your music away. Every song where you say the N-word, throw it away, especially if you didn't write it on your own. So that's where Kendrick is saying his morals are right and Drake's money is wrong. The way that Drake has made his money is wrong because it has been made in an immoral way. And that is, again, him. That's not just Drake. Drake is the face for the Jesuits that have been trafficking children ever since they paid Christopher Columbus to invade our land. Just the truth. Okay, so that is why Drake's morals are wrong, and Kendrick is saying that his morals are right. And Drake may have more money, but the way he made his money is based off of sexually enslaving all the children that they identify as black. Okay? So this is where, naturally, Drake is alliance with the white people, and Kendrick has been alliance with the black people. That's why white people paid Kendrick to make the Black Panther album before they killed Black Panther. And I'm praying to every god in Metatron's metaverse that Kendrick and his family stay safe. I don't want to see them go out the same way Chadwick Boseman went out. Okay, and the whole point, there's a big point here, huge point. Kendrick named his child after Enoch because he wants to see his child have the same life that Enoch did, which is the opposite of what Jesus and Abraham want. Jesus is affirming that God wants us to kill our own children because God let him, as the child of himself, be killed by his own people, because Jesus is Jehovah in the flesh. So when he's a child of God, they're using everything they stole from me to teach you what I teach you, that Jesus is a child of himself because he is Jehovah, and he got killed by his own people so that he can support the desires of Judaism. And that's how they created Christianity, so that they can enslave all the Indians that they've been violently trafficking ever since Jehovah became jealous of me and my family. So when Kendrick says keep the family safe, he's talking to Indians like me, like us. And that's why the song Not Like Us is going to be the summer bop. And it's going to go down in history as a very fire track to build off of Euphoria, which is already fire. I prefer Euphoria. Euphoria is more my speed. Euphoria is way more fire than Not Like Us. But I think what makes Kendrick really awesome is that I can see he knows Enoch and Hermes are both the same God. And that's why he also advocates fasting as well as ayahuasca, because his Spider-Man essence is him seeing, the truth that I'm sharing with you through my entire business and everything that I post. So he is it's very awesome that he has the intellect to tell Drake that ayahuasca would help him get out of his desire to touch things he shouldn't be touching, and to get out of this sort of this fear, because there's a big issue where Jesuits are they're so scared of dying, they're so scared of only having this life to live, that they become obsessed with little children, because they don't think that they're going to be a child again. So they don't think that they'll be able to be a child and touch children as a child. So they think that they have to use this one life to touch as many children as they can. That's that's the energy that Drake is in, and that's the energy that he's been put in, because he himself is a victim of the Jesuits, to be real. He's a victim of the abuse and the trafficking that the Jesuits have done to make money off of black culture. So Kendrick named his child after Enoch because biblically, Enoch, as Hermes, he didn't get killed by the Roman government. He didn't get killed by the Jesuits. He never got killed by his own people. Jesus, because Jesus is jealous of Hermes, he let himself get killed by his own people so that he could teach you that murder is the only solution to whatever evil things you've done in your past lives. And then that's where he also teaches you that you don't have past lives and you only live once, and it's your job to serve the incestuous heavenly father that created all of us. So it's really just a big matrix trap. And that's what Metatron represents to them, their ability to trap you in a Merkaba, aka America. Alright, so do understand that they logically turned the word a Merkaba. Abraham took the word Brahma to create Abraham. Jehovah took the word Brahma from Metatron. So Jehovah looked at Metatron's past lives. He sees that Brahma is one of Metatron's major past lives. And then he says, okay, I'm jealous of Metatron. I'm going to take Brahma and create Abraham so that I can colonize all the Indians and teach the Indians that they're all expressions of Abraham. Because that's what the Jesuits are doing. When I'm on TikTok and on the internet and I see the Indians with their Indian intellect, a lot of them, too many of them, believe that every Indian god is actually the expression of one God talking to himself. So they believe exactly what the Abrahamic religions believe, which is that we're all one, that we're all one expression of one consciousness. And that's where they say that we're all the same. And Kendrick, again, is going to war on that because he's saying, no, you're not like us. We don't like to touch little children. We don't make money off of slavery or trafficking. You do, because you're the ones who are trafficking us as Indians. You're the Jesuits who make money stealing from us and lying about it, so that you can teach all of us these racist lies that trap us in the matrix. Okay, so Drake represents their relationship with using Spider-Man's energy to hold the matrix together, which is why they wanted to say that J. Cole, Drake, and Kendrick are all Spider-Man, just like Toby, Andrew, and Tom are all Spider-Man. Okay, so this is literally their relationship with me, your Trippy Trip C, Tremer T, Trismegistus, your Trippy Trip C, psychedelic psychopomp, symmetry. Okay, this is their idea of Spider-Man. They see that Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva are all aspects of one God that a completely separate God is jealous of. So that separate God is using the past lives of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, which is also Hermes and Enoch, to teach us that we're all one. And that's why touching kids is okay. That's why trafficking black people and blacklisting black people is okay, because we're all the same. Touching kids who are too young to be touched is okay because we're all the same. That's literally the Jesuit perspective. And Kendrick is actually alliance with Metatron when he says, no, mathematically, you have always been wrong and you will always be wrong for wanting to touch children that are too young to be touched. And that's the entire basis of slavery. That's why they breed black people. That's why the entire Jesuit white supremacist order has made money building its entire industry of all of its banking systems off of grooming black children, because they treat black children as cattle that they can raise and sexually abuse for their own personal pleasure. But they make money out of that. Okay, so that's what Kendrick is going to war on. And that's what I am also going to war on by making this video. And I hope that you can someone just started distracting me with some screaming. That's what I'm hoping that everyone can realize when they're dancing to Not Like Us. I hope that everyone can see this is what Kendrick is truly talking about. The thing is, Kendrick, because he fasts, he talks about fasting. All right, so if you want to fast so that you can be faster, then you know where to find me. All right, join me in my school, Always Ascending Academy. Kendrick has pointed out that he's been fasting so that he can learn about his past lives. That's what Mr. Morale is. Okay, so when he knows that Enoch and Hermes are the same God, he knows that Enoch, as Hermes, used fasting before Jesus was used to control and colonize the concept of fasting. And that's where Kendrick is a fast artist. So I've heard a lot of people don't like Kendrick. A lot of people prefer Drake over Kendrick because Drake is slower than Kendrick, literally. That's why so many people prefer Drake over Kendrick. He's slower than Kendrick. And the truth is, Kendrick is a faster artist than Drake because mentally he thinks faster. Mentally, he has more ideas going on. He's thinking further ahead and he can make more connections. That's why Spider-Man fasts. Spider-Man, as a superhero who advocates for fasting from the Indian perspective, he's smart enough to know that you need to save money. See, Spider-Man fasts because he's poor. He doesn't have the money to afford eating. That's why I got evicted from my home. I'm too poor to even afford living in California or afford living in America in general. So now I'm in Asia, talking about how Christianity was stolen from Buddhism so that they can blacklist black people for infinity. So again, Kendrick represents the Buddhist perspective, whereas Drake represents the Christian perspective, because the Jesuits, the Jewish Christians, are representing the Abrahamic God overall, whereas the Buddhists represent being affiliated with the Indian gods that are also Hindu, and all the Mayan, Aztec, Incan gods, all the indigenous gods that have been explicitly blacklisted by the John Adams Library. So when you look at the John Adams Library and you see that they have Quetzalcoatl-Zamna, do understand that the Kukulkan named themselves after Quetzalcoatl-Zamna because they stole the concept of killing Jesus from their desire to kill me, their desire to kill Enoch, their desire to kill Metatron, their desire to kill the Indians of the indigenous Americas of Africa. That's why they killed Black Panther. Okay, so it's very real. That's why black people, again, are blacklisted from receiving the same rights as whites, because they don't want us to get any sort of justice or any sort of reparation for how they've been intentionally killing us and lying about it and making money doing it with smiles on their face. And that's what the Ku Klux Klan represent, killing kids kindly. So the Ku Klux Klan, they're happy to kill people. The Ku Klux Klan kill Black Panthers with smiles on their faces. The Black Panthers were killed by the Ku Klux Klan, yet the Black Panthers are identified as a terrorist organization just because the Black Panthers are trying to defend themselves from the terrorists that have been trafficking Indians ever since Jehovah became jealous of Metatron. Okay? Just the truth. So, the truth is water. And this is why firefighters, they had to fight fire with water. Kendrick isn't fighting Drake's lies with more lies. He's using the truth. He's using water to put Drake's fire out. And now we can see him for who he is without this big, bright, dazzling light blinding us from his spirit. Everyone's spirit is nothing, but your spirit is actually creative. And when your spirit has real morals, like Kendrick talks about in Mr. Morale, when your spirit knows about how its morals has resulted in it having its own past lives, you can stand on nothing like it's something. And that's going to matter more than any amount of money in physical reality. And that's how Kendrick has allianced himself with the spirit of Metatron, of Enoch, and the spirit of Anubis. Because when you look at the Vatican and you see that Thoth and Anubis combine their energy into Hermanubis, you can see that the Vatican stole the concept of Goku and Vegeta combining into Gogeta from the polytheistic gods that Jehovah wants to blacklist and erase. That Jehovah is actively and violently, narcissistically jealous of. Just the truth. So this is where Kendrick, as a Buddhist, he is allianced with the morals of being a good person. Drake, as a Christian, he believes that he needs to be evil because the world is evil, everyone's evil, and now we all need Jesus to save us from our sins. And we all need to kill Jesus when he comes back, because killing him is how we got saved in the first place. But that one killing was not enough. We need him to come back so we can kill him again. See, like, this is just witchcraft for how they view me. And so that they can teach you to kill me when I come back to support gods that never want to support me. And that's why, again, they killed Chadwick Boseman. Chadwick and Chase both start with CHA. It's really them trying to consume the energy of Cha, which is ultimately the Chi. And that represents the child, the shield. The child is the Chi of our community. Every child represents the Cha. Every child of God is a ball of Chi that is unique in its own way. So this is where Kendrick is not racist, but Drake is. Drake is racist because he believes that every child is an adult that can be touched because we're all the same. Kendrick, as an Indian, actually believes in diversity because he knows that everyone has their own age and their own time and their own soul. And that's why you shouldn't touch children who are too young mathematically. Like, it shouldn't even be an argument, but because of slavery and because of how slavery has been used to make money, harvesting the energy of black people, this is a conversation that needs to be had. Sadly, the Masons who own this matrix are cutting down anyone who wants to help children That's what this series of unfortunate events is about. If you've ever seen a series of unfortunate events, that book series and the Netflix series is really stupid, but I was into the book series growing up, and it's explicitly about a Jesuit who likes to kill these people that want to protect the children that he's chasing. My name is Chase. So when Jesuits are chasing Indians for their money, I have a very deep relationship with that. That's not limited to one God. No matter what your emotions are, no matter how you think or feel about that, this is just the truth. As Chase, my relationship to Indians being chased by Jesuits is way deeper than you can even see, because you're blinded by your own ego. And that's how you know that you're not me, because you don't even care about Indians being chased by Jesuits the same way that I do. But I'm glad that Kendrick cares about it to some degree, and that he's willing to call Drake out, even though, of course, this is, I didn't even make this point, but a diss track does sound a lot like distraction, doesn't it? Diss track sounds a lot like distraction. So as much truth is coming out when Kendrick is using water to hose Drake down and put out the fire of his ego with the soul, what the collective has said, not even Kendrick's words, but that's what Euphoria down, like, let me hose, that's what Euphoria was. Kendrick literally saying, let me hose you down. And he just used the water of everyone else's emotions. Again, he just got in the spirit of saying what the culture was already saying. He was a channel. That's how that worked. He didn't make up lies. He didn't make up ideas. He sprayed Drake down with the water of everyone else's emotions to put out Drake's fire. And that's how firefighters fight fires. You can't fight fire with fire. You do have to fight it with water. And spiritually, that means you can't fight lies with lies. You have to fight lies with the truth. Elementally. And that's why everyone loves Avatar, because it's a concept stolen from Mercury. And that's how the Masons who want to colonize Mercury are using everything they've stolen from my past lives to teach us that we've never lived before. But here's a bunch of shows and intellect about an Avatar who does live before, because that's what Indians believe. But we celebrate killing Indians every Thanksgiving because they're wrong and we're right. And that's how Jesuits play games. That's how they make all their money. And that's why they don't want to give reparations at all, because they worship a God who's jealous of the spirit that they stole their money from. So giving reparations to them would hurt more than death itself. It almost feels like the Jesuits would rather kill themselves and keep their money and destroy the world than give it to the people that they've enslaved and have been violently trafficking for centuries, actively in America, for thousands of years globally. Okay, because they only colonized America after they actively colonized a lot of Africa. And it was because of their ability to colonize Africa resulted in them having the resources where they felt like they could go across the ocean to colonize America. And they learned about America because they colonized Africa. They just lie. The Jesuits lie. The people who made Drake famous lie when they say that they discovered America. They know that Africans already traveled to America. They knew that indigenous peoples would be over there. They just acted like they discovered it so that they can take credit for everything that Africans have ever done. And this is their relationship with Spider-Man. This is Drake's relationship with Spider-Man. This is what the Jesuits represent. This is what OVO represents. This is what the Masonic orders of white supremacists who make money enslaving children like me represent. Okay, they enslave children like me because they don't want children like me to be happy alone. That's why they made ayahuasca illegal. They made psychedelics illegal. Black Panther is a superhero who uses psychedelics to talk to his ancestors so that he can learn about their past lives and his own past lives. They killed Black Panther because they don't even want to make us aware of that being a thing we can do in real life.